Welcome back to another Omega training video by Bermod. Today's video will focus on analog sensors, analog sensor wiring and analog sensor settings. To begin, log into cloud.bermod.io, navigate to your site and select an Omega controller. Once you are at your controller home screen, go ahead and wake up Claudio in the lower right corner of the screen. Please select Set Analog Sensor and select Custom to set up parameters now or Express to set up parameters from the settings. For this example, let's use Custom Setup. Analog sensors have a voltage output or an amperage output. Please select the type of sensor you are connecting. This information can be found on the manufacturer specifications. We will select current for the first sensor. Please select analog input number 1 since this is the first sensor. Now we need a name for this sensor. We will use mainline pressure. The units of the sensor we are setting up measures in pounds per square inch. We will use PSI as our units. Next, we need to tell the Omega what the range of the sensor. The pressure transducer we are installing has a range from 0 psi to 150 psi. We will set the 4 at 0 and the 20 at 150. Analog sensors can trigger alerts if you desire. We will be setting up the alerts to protect our system from overpressurizing. We will set the low pressure alert at 0 psi and set the notification to alert only. We will set the high pressure alert at 75 to protect our filters. We want the program to shut off in a high pressure event. Using the hysteresis will eliminate minor fluctuations found in analog sensors. Use the time delay feature to prevent alerts from sending notifications prematurely. Great job setting up your first analog 4 to 20 mA sensor and alert levels. Now we will discuss the different wiring options and when each one will be used. Analog sensors will have either 2 or 3 wire configurations and may be powered by an Omega or from an external power source. Please note, sensors to be powered by an Omega must have a power requirement below 16 volts DC. Wiring a 3-wire analog sensor is simple. One lead from the sensor will be labeled as V+. Please land this wire on the plus symbol terminal. One lead will be the negative power conductor. Please land the negative wire on the G terminal. The remaining wire will be the analog signal wire. Land this wire on the number 1 terminal. Well done. You have successfully connected a 3-wire passive analog sensor to your Omega. Now we will connect a 2-wire passive sensor. Just like the 3-wire sensor, the 2-wire sensor will have one lead labeled V+. Please land this wire on the plus terminal. The negative power wire will be landed on the number terminal instead of the G terminal. The last sensor configuration option we will review is a 2-wire with external power source. These schematics show both a 2-wire and a 3-wire sensor being powered by an external power source. In this diagram, the Omega is located where the instrument is placed. Please land the analog sensor signal wire on the numeric terminal and then land the negative side of the power supply to the G terminal on the Omega. The last step in setting up analog sensors will be verifying the settings we previously set and to set the sampling and logging intervals. Please navigate to the controller settings and select mainline pressure just below analog inputs. Here is the settings of the analog sensor we set up in the beginning of this video. We named the sensor mainline pressure. This sensor has a 4 to 20 mA current output which we selected. We landed the sensor wires on terminal number 1. The units to be displayed are PSI and the range is 0 to 150 PSI. For safety we set the low and high parameters and have elected to have the Omega turn off all programs if 75 PSI is reached. Now we can set the sampling rate. This can be anywhere from 5 seconds to minutes if desired. The warm-up period is specific to sensor types. Please keep this at 1 second unless instructed. The last item is the logging intervals. By default this will be 15 minutes and will log one reading from the sensor every 15 minutes. Thanks for watching. This completes our Omega training event on analog sensors.